Welcome to Parentalk. I'm Rob Parsons and I'm the chairman of Care for the Family. You know, when my wife and I first had children, I don't think we had any idea of the range of emotions that were about to hit us. Excitement, joy, but also panic, fear, sometimes plunging low self-esteem, and sometimes all of that within the space of a single hour. The truth is that children don't come with instruction manuals, do they? We wouldn't think of even turning on our brand new washing machine without at least flicking through the instruction book, but probably nobody got us ready for that awesome task of being a parent. And you know, it is complicated because not only is every parent different, but every child unique. And that's particularly frustrating if our first child happens to be compliant, because for a while we think we're a fantastic parent. If we're really foolish, we'll start giving other people negative, critical advice where they're going wrong. But that's not a good idea. Because when that second child comes along, they may be entirely different. In fact, their life mission may be this: how can I drive my mother crazy today? And for that very reason, sometimes being a parent is a bit like being on a roller coaster ride. Sometimes it's brilliant. We are just loving this ride. The wind's in our hair, the sun's on our face. It is so easy. And suddenly it all changes. And we are plunging downwards towards this chaos, holding on for dear life with white knuckles, hoping this particular ride is going to be over as soon as possible. As we go through Parentalk, we're going to look at lots of the issues that affect every mum and every dad. How do you really listen to a child? Which battles do you fight and which ones do you let go? Why are words of praise so important in a child's life? And as they get older, how increasingly do we begin to let them go, to get them ready for the day when we're not there? So whatever situation you're in, whether you're parenting with a husband, wife, your partner, whether you're single parent, mum or dad, remember we're all in this together. And for that very reason, one of the most important parts of Parentalk is our discussion together. Try to really enjoy that. But as we start Parentalk, above all, remember this: there is no one way to be a perfect parent, but there are 100 ways to be a great parent.
Yeah, I do. I think it does.
I don't.
It can do, but life is very stressful. Children or no children.
It certainly does, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Especially this day and age, yeah.
You have to think about other people's schedules besides your own.
Well, you should plan it out.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a kid, you should
Gotta
make sure
plan
you,
it out.
you can afford things for them.
People plan to have children, and if they plan to have children, then it's not stressful. It can be so enjoyable.
It's not stressful, it's hard work, but if I'd have had a younger, I feel like it'd be a lot more stressful, but I waited till I was 25 to have her, so I feel like that was a good age for me.
Makes me change my priorities. And that makes me less stressful in some situations and more in others.
Yes, and yes, in all honesty.
It does, yes.
Put that ball away.
I can't find it.
Swap.
Kids, come and get your lunchbox.
Slow down. Oh, come on, let's go. Quick.
All I can say is we're pretty naive when we became parents, so it wasn't as we expected it to be.
I had no expectations of what being a parent was like. I didn't have many friends that had kids. I had no idea what to expect.
I was really looking forward to being a parent. I'm a bit nervous, but it's just more extreme in every way. It's more tiring, it's more exhilarating, it's more frustrating.
Yeah, there are loads of good things about being a parent and things that I never even thought of, like the washing and jobs and just never being able to get on top of things.
It's been a lot of fun and also probably more full on than we expected.
Being a parent is much harder than we expected. And it wasn't quite conventional, so we adopted children that were running around and potty training and straight away. So it was quite a very steep learning curve.
A lot of it is a bit more full on and intense than I ever thought. So from the moment you get up in the morning, the moment you go to bed at night, it's just a constant, which wasn't quite as I expected.
No, you can't really anticipate. You can't really anticipate what it's going to quite be like. And you can't anticipate the rewards of parenting either, to be honest.
It's more enjoyable and more challenging than I expected. Yeah. I think it's a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. There's a lot of joy and laughter. But then at the same time, I think it's probably more physically exhausting than I imagined. So you don't realise how tired you're going to feel and how mentally challenging it's going to be and
relentless.
Yeah, relentless. Yeah, it just kind of every day it never ends. But at the same time, the joy never ends each day and the fun never ends each day as well.
Yeah, I think there's more challenges than I thought it would be. Someone told me about the lack of sleep. That was the biggest challenge for me, I think.
Yeah, nothing could prepare us for that, could it?
No.
I knew it was going to be hard because everyone tells you that it's going to be really hard, but it's not until you're actually in the situation that you realise how hard it actually is. But at the same time, the good bits that people tell you about are true and it does make it worth it.
I think for me, it's better than I expected, actually. It's a real privilege and it's a lot of fun being a parent, and I love being a dad.
Difficult. Difficult because they keep getting frustrated when we don't do what she asks. Because you have to take care of children and you have to clean up after them.
I think it'd be difficult to be a parent because they have to look after us 24/7 and they have to do all the cooking and the cleaning and stuff. Yeah.
Difficult, yeah, because of all the work you have to do and all the washing and you have to keep up schedule of everything. So yeah, kind of hard.
I think it might be a bit difficult being a mum or dad because you have to keep your child under control all the time.
I think they find it hard remembering who needs to be where and when with what.
Well, I think it's hard because they have to look after the children and pay all the bills and do all the paperwork. I think it's hard because my mum lost us all in IKEA once.
Our little boy's just really good fun. It's lovely seeing his personality develop. It's lovely seeing his sense of humour develop. He laughs a lot, which is really nice.
I think they do enjoy looking after us. And it gets hard, but they still love us no matter what.
I think it's nice to see them enjoy something that you've been responsible for. You know, going home eating chips or something in the rain, that sort of thing. Little bits that you've just done on the cuff and they've liked.
I enjoy talking to them. I think they're fun. I think just seeing their perspective on life is quite refreshing and so different from what mine is, obviously, because I've got more years' experience, and I think it's nice that you can actually learn from them.
I think the best thing is Mother's Day and Father's Day because you get treated with lots of presents and stuff.
I think the best thing about being a mum or a dad is birthdays and Mother's Day and Father's Day because you get gifts and you get treated well.
Yeah, what I most enjoy about being a parent is when they just come over and give you a cuddle at random times and say, "Mummy, I love you." You just think, oh, see, it is all worth it.
And they just look up to you and be honest with you, that's what I enjoy the most of, being there for them and being a parent. And you can't, it's one of those things you can't articulate.
I think my mum and dad like staying up late.
I think that they like choosing what they can eat and cooking whatever they want.
I think they like coming to Bradford City games with my brother and me.
Family football is always really funny.
It always ends in huge upset though.
I know, huge fights.
Big rows.
Big rows, but it's always really funny. It's just good fun.
The hardest thing is the lack of sleep. I struggle with the lack of sleep. I get grumpy.
He does, yeah.
I think also being patient. He's sort of just at the age we're starting to have to do the discipline thing. So it's sort of hard to stay patient when you've had to tell him for the 25th time not to touch this or whatever.
I'm less patient than I thought I was, it turns out.
I think the hard bits are when you can't get them to see sense.
Alfie does spend time with her dad, but mostly it's me and Alfie, and so I don't have anybody to kind of bounce it off of and say, am I doing the right thing? You know, I can call friends and family and say, you know, what do I do in this situation, and they help. But most of the time it's just me, and I kind of have to see if I'm doing it right.
I think also one of the other things I find difficult is as a parent you need to make decisions about your children's life and things like that, and not necessarily knowing whether the decisions you're making are the right ones or not, but you've still got to make a decision because that's what you're meant to do.
Family life for me is incredibly busy because I've got 3 small boys and they're all quite dependent upon me. So it's pretty much constant from the time I get up to the time they go to bed. And then sometimes afterwards, so obviously you've got things to do to prepare for the next day. The biggest challenge I face as a mum is not having any time to myself. It feels like it's constant, mum, I need this, I want that, or fights and arguments break out and you have to deal with that. You have to drop everything to deal with something, and I think it can be quite wearing. If I had all the time in the world, I'd like to have my house perfect. I'd like to have it clean and tidy and not have it messed up the moment you have tidied up. I'd be able to do all my DIY without any interruption, just be able to get my life together. I think my natural inclination would be to want to go out to work. I suppose in some ways you feel a little bit like you've put your life on hold, which sounds awful, but my life is the same all the time. I don't have that kind of break of going to the workplace, so I can find that difficult. All of my children are different. My oldest son would tend to kick off for any given reason, and you could be in a public place, he wouldn't care, he would scream the place down, and everyone would be looking at you, and that's happened to me a number of times in like supermarkets and places like that. People stop and say, you know, are you okay? And you think, I just want to get out of here. This is horrendous. I don't really know what to do with him. I am aware that people are watching me, and you feel like your parenting's being assessed. Yes, there's this constant pressure almost to perform as a parent. I'd say that there are lots of highs and lots of lows to being a parent. It can be very rewarding, but there are a lot of challenges. I've had to learn as I go, so I'm a very different parent now, having 3 children as opposed to when I had 1. I have had to learn basically not to worry about what other people think. I just have to do what I think is best. It is a learning process. Things change, you react differently to things all the time, but yeah, it's definitely rewarding.
In Parentalk, we'll be looking at the issues that affect every parent. And I'm joined by Catherine Hill and Diane Louise Jordan. Di, as we listened to that story of that mum, you know, with her child driving her crazy in the supermarket and all that stuff, did any of that resonate with you at all?
Actually, you know, Robert, quite a lot of it resonated with me. I think the thing that overridingly touched me was that your life completely changes. And my life changed quite dramatically. And I suppose my situation's a bit unique because I became a mum when my sister, who was herself a single parent, died suddenly. I became mum to my niece overnight. And I remember thinking, wow, I've got this little bundle. She's 2.5 years old, and I didn't even have the 9 months to try, as you know, normal pregnancy would give you, to try and get my head around it. One minute I was an aunt, the next minute I was the mother who was absolutely responsible for this life. And I was thinking, how do I do this? It was quite, it's quite scary, really.
And I think that whatever our situation, actually nothing prepares us for being a parent. And certainly, you know, for me, it was the loss of identity. You know, I thought nothing about, I was working before and I thought nothing about giving a presentation. But then, you know, a few weeks after our first child was born, you know, my main achievement was really to get dressed before lunchtime. And you do, I think, most parents go through a change of identity and a loss of confidence, and it can take quite a long time to regain that confidence.
Actually, I lost confidence quite quickly, actually. I thought I was going to be the perfect parent. I'd always had these dreams about when I became a mum. I used to look at other parents and, you know, sort of think, well, they're not doing such a great job, but when I become a parent, my child's going to be perfect in every way. I mean, seriously, I had these sort of dreams that parenting was quite an easy thing to do. I actually remember there was a time which went on for about 3 weeks, where my little 2.5-year-old would only eat a banana and would only drink a certain soft drink. And that's all she would have. She would not eat her evening meal. She just wouldn't do it. And I remember being beside myself thinking, here is this tiny little being. She won't eat. I don't know what to do about it. And I honestly, it really rocked me because I thought, how do I navigate this one? And I took her to the doctor because I was so worried about it. And the doctor said, oh no, you know, children go through these fads. So, is she drinking? Yes, she's drinking. Is she eating something? Yeah, oh, it's fine, she'll be fine. So I'm like, oh, she's fine. And then I think about 3 days after that, she just resumed eating again. She just chose to do that.
And you know, in Care for the Family, I think over the years, you occasionally meet, and they do seem to be perfect parents. And they say, I just love parenting, I love being a mum and a dad, and everything's fine. But I think most people feel often a bit inadequate, we're getting it wrong. And the truth is, we're just learning on the job, aren't we? And I think, therefore, we often feel guilty.
And I would so agree with that, actually. And looking back, you know, I've had times when I've been at home looking after the children and times when I've been working outside the home. And actually, there's guilt that comes with both. There's joys and there's challenges with both situations, I think.
I've had friends who've said to me, you know, friends who've been at home who are climbing the walls and all they want to do is get back to work. For me, I just remember when I was working, you know, did a 7 or 8 hour day or longer, and the only thing I wanted to do was come back and be with my child. So I always used to feel this tension between really wanting to be there, but then once I was there with my child, so sort of preoccupied with all the things that I needed to do, and I was sort of a bit overwhelmed by that.
What can we do about it? Why do we feel so guilty? Is there an antidote to guilt?
Well, I think one of the things is, I believe that parenting is one of the most important jobs in the world. And because it is so important, we want to do our best. We want to be the best parents that we can. And then because of that, I think we often compare ourselves with others and feel that we fall short. But the truth is we only see everyone else's sort of best bits, you know, their show reels. And what we don't see is the behind the scenes stuff, the things when it all is going horribly wrong, you know, when there's crazy family meal times or the house is a tip or whatever. That's reality for all of us.
Do you think it's that we're looking over our shoulder, worried about what others are making of our parenting? But if only we would share with others sometimes how we fail, how we get it wrong, our worries, our fears, we take the pressure off everybody. Because ultimately, we're all in the same boat, trying to go in the same direction, aren't we?
Do you know, you've said such a great thing. There was a time I rapidly lost confidence. I was surprised at how hard I found it and how really, truly inadequate I felt. There was one evening when my child went to bed and I'd done all the chores and I was just sitting in the lounge on my own. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is it. I can't I'm stuck in this situation, it felt like forever.
Yeah.
I'm on my own, I've got nobody to speak to, nobody that I think would really understand what it was like to be in my particular situation. And I think it wasn't until I got to that stage of feeling so bad that I felt I had no other option but to share that with somebody. And I actually told my friends who lived up the road, husband and wife, how bad I felt, because I really needed some help. I was that desperate. And they turned around and said, oh, we feel exactly the same way too. You know, and it was such a relief to know that not only was I then getting some support and some help, which I absolutely needed, but they were in the same boat and we could share. And that feeling of feeling so bad about myself was, was lifted just because I shared a little bit.
Do you agree that may be part of the answer, just to be a bit more honest with people?
Absolutely. And, to try and be honest, to be vulnerable about the real stuff. And that's not to say don't celebrate the good stuff as well,
Exactly.
but to have people around us that can help us.
Yeah, and I think it took me quite a while. It wasn't until my child was quite a lot older that I realised that a lot of the things that I was going through as this single parent was exactly what a lot of other parents do go through. I think that's so important to share that, because it was a big secret to me. I just really thought parents, you've got a mum and dad in this lovely, perfect nuclear family, they've got it all right, and the rest of us single parents, we're a big mistake, and that's just not true.
And I think, whilst it's really, really important to be honest, to be vulnerable, actually, let's not forget the real joy and privilege it is as well to be bringing up the next generation, because it is an incredibly important job.
Well, Di, we've talked about lots of issues today. If you had one top parenting tip, what would that be?
Well, for me personally, when I stopped pretending to be the perfect parent and honestly asked for what I needed, things changed. So I would say, get rid of the mask and be honest.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. I really hope you've enjoyed the first session of Parentalk. And I also hope that by now you're getting the message that we're all in this together. The truth is that parenting is a long haul affair, isn't it? I remember some years ago, a woman came into my office. She was 97 years old. She said to me, "I can rest in peace now, Mr. Parsons." I said, "Why is that, my dear?" She said, "I've just got my youngest son into an old people's home. He was 72 years old and a bit shaky. She wasn't in one, but here she was tying up the last few ends as a mother." And because it is so long haul and because it is so exacting, as well as looking after our children, we have to make sure we look after ourselves as well. I'm sure when you've flown, you remember the warnings given with regard to the oxygen mask. The steward or stewardess will say, in the unlikely event of the aircraft suffering a decompression, oxygen mask will fall from the panel above your head. And then they give this vital piece of advice. They say if you're traveling with small children, make sure you put your mask on first. And we know why they do that. Because in that situation, if we look after ourselves, we are better placed to look after our children. But in the hurly-burly of being a mum or dad every day, it's easy to forget that. But we must remember it. Sometimes we need a little space. It's fine sometimes to say no to our children. We don't have to answer every question. We don't have to run upstairs with that 10th glass of water every night. Sometimes it's fine to say, no, mum or dad need a little time right now. And of course, for some single parents, that is particularly difficult. And that's why as a community, we need to help each other to get that space. Help each other look after ourselves. Don't get disheartened in your role as a parent, will you? And above all, don't look over your shoulder wondering what other people are making of your parenting. Over the coming weeks, we're going to share with you some tried and tested strategies that will really help you as a parent, but see what works for you in your family. And above all, remember this: nobody loves your child like you. Nobody knows them like you. Have confidence in your own parenting.